As a Christian, I can justify that murder is absolutely wrong.
Yeah.
Because God has given us a conscience of right and wrong. And He is the standard, right? He's given us laws in our heart that we know that murder is wrong. We know that rape is absolutely wrong. But what I'm trying to say is that I know that murder is wrong. But how do you justify that in your own world? Does that make sense? Yeah, I didn't catch your name.
Jordan.
So my name is Godwin.
Yeah, I hope so. Surely on.
So, Jordan, what is it? What do you think in regards to when it comes to life and death? What comes to mind in your life? Is that something that you think about?
Yeah, quite a lot. I think life, death, heaven, hell, kind of thing. What we do here obviously dictates where we go and stuff. So
And in regards to like belief system, like, do you believe that there is a higher being, or there is like where do you?
I'm not a religious person myself, but I believe I'd say I'm spiritual, but not religious. If that makes sense. So I believe in different energies and stuff, and it's hard to explain what I believe, because I don't even know how to put it into words myself. But I think the universe has energies throughout it. It's not so much when we die, we're still going to be here, if you know what I mean, because matter, I don't know if you know this, but obviously matter destroys, it can't be transferred. So what it gets transferred into, maybe that is dictated by what we do when we're still here.
Is that something?
If you give up good energy, maybe put back into another living thing. If you're not, maybe you'll just be a bench or something. I don't know.
And is there like, how did you come to that belief system?
To be honest with you, I don't know. It's just like, I guess I've been to places all over the world, and I just don't see like. It's just all my experiences are put together. I've never really experienced the fact that I've been to some good places, I've been to some bad places. Like I was in the military for 6 years. I served in Afghanistan, and I've seen evil in full force. So I don't think, and that's the thing. I believe in good. I believe in evil. You can't have good without evil, can you? No, I don't think you can say that there's a God as such if if these things are being committed by another person, because why wouldn't someone? So that doesn't stop that.
Okay, I get what you mean. So, like, just that you can, correct me if I'm wrong. So basically, you believe in spiritual things. However, you don't believe that there's a higher being. Because at the same time, you have all these bad things happening. So, when there's such bad things happening, right? Why if there was a God, like this? I'm not trying to tear down what you believe in and stuff. I've got this one online.
So I've got ADHD, so I mean, what if people are believing in obviously God, if that helps them do good things, and great, but also people use that to do bad things as well, and take life, and then obviously you've got your you've got your death part there as well. But people don't. I don't think that's talked about as much anymore, because there's so much bad that's being done in the name of religion. I think so it's hard to believe in something that is being used as to commit such evil stuff in this world.
Of course. So your question is, why, if there is a God, why is there suffering? So
you articulated it a lot better.
So one thing I would say, just a quick question, Jordan. What about us to say, if there was no God, how can we justify any suffering? So how do we explain suffering without God?
I don't think you can justify suffering. I think the only suffering that can be justified is you suffering.
Sorry, how do we explain suffering without God?
I don't think you can. Like the only time suffering can ever be justified is if you suffer to benefit someone else. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like you might sacrifice your comfort and your joy so someone else can have that comfort or joy. That's the only time suffering can ever be justified. You can't make someone suffer for your own benefit.
Yeah.
Because that's evil, right?
Yeah.
The only like that's where you obviously people. I feel like people, so you've got a bit of food and someone doesn't, you might sacrifice a bit of your food to give to someone else. And that's where you might suffer a little bit for the good of someone else. That's the difference between good and evil. And I think, obviously. We've gone massively off topic from life and death, and we're talking about good versus evil.
That's right. No, the reason why I asked Jordan was just because basically it's like this. So, if there is no God, how can we use the word suffering? As in, what I'm trying to say is, if we say that God doesn't exist, in an atheistic worldview or someone who has a view where there is no God. We can't really use the word suffering because at the same time, like atheism, for example, they say they're protoplasm and they're fizzing chemical reactions. So if someone is, for example, punching someone, they can't say that I'm being harmed because, it's just a chemical reaction.
Well, I think that's where I'm more of a man of science and man of logic. But some of the things I've felt and experienced, I feel like spiritualism can come into that as well. But when it comes to direct religion and stuff and with God and stuff, people think sometimes it's good to believe in a higher power, but I think sometimes it's good to look into yourself for a higher power. If you see yourself as your own higher power, you believe in yourself and you can obviously better yourself in that way as well. But obviously when it comes to other people suffering or your own suffering, without God, you'll still be people who still feel that. I don't think it matters if there's a God or not. Suffering would still exist, because there will still be good, still be bad, still get life and death.
I get what you're saying. I totally understand what you're saying, Jordan. But what I'm trying to say is, if it makes sense, is that in regards to suffering, if there is no God, how do we explain? Because suffering assumes that there is something bad happening, right? And what I'm trying to say is that if there is no God, if God is out of the picture, let's say God is out of the picture, how can we explain that someone is, let's say, being brutally beaten up? How can we say that is bad if we say that there is no God? Does that make sense? So in regards to, like, for example, I'm a Christian. So in my worldview, I could say that, this is absolutely wrong because God has created everyone in His image. He's given us a conscience from right and wrong. And what that person is doing to the other person is brutally wrong because he's an image bearer of God. And God has given us a conscience knowing that is absolutely wrong. He is beating up an image bearer. So we can say that from our Christian worldview because there's a standard. The standard is that there is a God, and obviously God has given us a conscience of right and wrong. So there is a standard. That makes sense.
I 100% see what you're saying. But like people's version of right and wrong, everyone obviously different. Every religion or whatever you believe in has built different belief systems to dictate what is right and wrong. So even if obviously your version of God is someone else's version of God, they all have that, and that comes from our own morality, what our environment, who we're around, our parentage and stuff like that. Our own habitual instances. It all gets built up. So even if God didn't exist, it would still get built in some way from a different God or a different spirit or whatever. So that will always that plane of belief is always going to get brought up, whether it's by your God or a different God. If that makes sense.
No, I get what you're saying. I'm not saying that you don't know right or wrong. I'm not saying that you know that murder is absolutely wrong. I know you know that, Jordan. What I'm trying to say is that as a Christian, I can justify that murder is absolutely wrong because God has given us a conscience of right and wrong. And He is the standard, right? He's given us laws in our heart that we know that murder is wrong. We know that rape is absolutely wrong. But what I'm trying to say is that I know that you know murder is wrong. But how do you justify that in your own world? Does that make sense? So like in regards to how can you say someone says murder is absolutely right in another country, right? And you say no, murder is absolutely wrong. So two people arguing or having opinions, but how can you say that what you're saying is right?
I mean, I don't personally believe in a God as such. Like I said, I believe in spiritualism and stuff like that. And obviously, I've got my own what I believe is right. And by the way, I do also believe murder and rape is right. I just want to clarify that. But what I mean, without even believing it, maybe it is your God that gave me that. Maybe who knows?
And that's all I'm saying is that basically, I hope I'm making sense. I know you're you seem like a very cool guy, nice person, and I appreciate your patience as well. And basically, all I was saying is that in regards to the Christian worldview and atheist or whatever, I would say that they're borrowing from our worldview. So in order to know, not you know that murder is wrong, you know rape is wrong, people know that, but we, without
even the people who do it know they know.
Exactly. But without having God in the picture, how do we justify it? Do you know what I'm trying to say? And that causes kind of, if God is not in the picture, we kind of just, it's like a circular reasoning basically. How would you justify it? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Well, it's a communication model, isn't it? Obviously, what it's. I mean, everyone has a different, unique model of the world. So, whatever. Like I said before, it's our environment, what we've been brought up to believe and stuff like that. That's what creates what. How we justify our actions, I mean, there's religion around us all the time. People who believe it, people who believe in religions all the time. That could be what dictates people's like they, subliminally taking in what these religions are putting out into the world. Because I mean, they're massively different between obviously Christianity and being a Muslim, but they also have very similar. Things that they live by as well, but obviously their gods are different and how they live their life is different.
So I get you. So you're saying that basically someone could be, just in a household and that's growing up to be built some certain way. And that's where how their morality is built up.
And obviously as well, like I don't think, obviously, there's, like I said before, there's some awful things that have been committed in this world in the name of religions and stuff. And that's not just like, at the moment, it's more prominent that it's there's Muslim atrocities, with terrorist bombers and stuff across the world. But before that, it was Christians with, the conquests and stuff. So, there's been bad things done in many different religions, and also obviously, but then I think a lot of good things have been done as well. There's a lot of help, but then I think a lot of the world has been shaped by religions, even when people aren't religious like myself. Things get, like the good parts of it gets put out to society, and that's kind of what helps probably give a lot of people their morality and stuff. So.
And I totally respect that. You come from the military. That's crazy. But just like I'll be quick. I don't want to waste any more of your time. But in regards to just before we move on and wrap things up, I know that you have to go. But like in regards to when I'm talking about being built up and how things are and so forth. In regards to regardless of how we're built up, would you say that murder or rape is always wrong, regardless of how someone's been built up in whatever household?
I think rape, there's no question about it. There's never a reason to do it, and there's never. It's always bad.
Let's leave it just to rape, because so would you say that's always absolutely wrong, regardless of location or what country?
Regardless, it's always wrong. It's always fucked up and bad. Murder is always wrong and always bad, and I don't think it is necessarily murder if you're doing it in like, for example, like if I had a child and my child got raped or something, 100% I'm fucking murdering the person that did it.
So, but would you say, so in that sense, you agree that rape is always absolutely wrong, regardless of location, regardless of the history or whatever? It's always absolutely wrong.
Always absolutely wrong.
In regards to my worldview, I know, and I know you know, I know that rape is always absolutely wrong, because God has created someone in His image, He's an image bearer, and that's basically stealing and forcing someone upon their own will. So it's always absolutely wrong. So that's in my Christian worldview. You know that's wrong as well. But what I'm trying to say, I can justify knowing that the God of the Bible has given us a conscience from right and wrong. He's given us that conscience. And he's written that laws upon our hearts, right? And he's done that to everyone. But in regards to you, in regards to without God, how do you justify that?
What justify that is wrong?
Not that you know it's wrong. I know you know it's wrong. But I can only say you know it's wrong because you're growing from our worldview. The Christian worldview. But in regards to your own worldview, how would you justify that?
Well, taking someone's free will away is always wrong. So what I do is like everyone has their individual liberty, okay, but so obviously everyone has that liberty to commit anything they want to, but then that is wrong obviously in the eyes of the law. Obviously, it's not just in the eyes of the law, but sometimes things are bad morally as well. I justify it being wrong because we just know it's wrong.
I know you know it's wrong, but like, in regards, if someone said rape is right, and you said rape is wrong, how do we know who is speaking? Like, where's that standard? Do you get where I'm coming from? Is it because it would just be an opinion? But how do we know morally it's objectively wrong? Absolutely. Do you get where I'm coming from?
You don't like it's causing suffering to another person. So causing suffering to another person is wrong. As simple as that. There's no other way you could really explain it apart from just saying.
I get what you're saying, but basically what I'm trying to say is that means when you say it's wrong because of suffering, the other person says, well, suffering is good, and you're saying suffering is wrong. So that means it's wrong because it's wrong because it's wrong because of your own. Do you know what I mean? So what I'm trying to say, it's circular. Does that make sense? Basically, you know it's wrong because I said it's wrong. Do you know what I mean? It's like me saying the Bible's true because I said so. The Bible's true. Does that make sense? So it's a circle of reasoning. So would you admit that maybe perhaps you know it's wrong, but you know that in order to have that standard as morally wrong and as a standard, that you need God in the picture? Would you agree with that?
If I think if it helps you stick to your moral compass, then absolutely. Personally, I wouldn't need to use God.
No. So I know you don't need God. I know we don't need God, but what I'm trying to say is that you know that it is wrong because that person is an image bearer and God has given you a conscience from right and wrong. So what I'm trying to say, Jordan, is that basically for someone to not have God in the picture, they need to borrow from our worldview. Does that make sense? So what I'm saying is that if you put God out of the picture, you can only say it's wrong because it's wrong. Because I said so because it's suffering.
I get what you're saying.
So that makes sense. So would you then agree that you would need God in the picture, basically? So I'm gonna let you go, Jordan. Basically, the reason why I'm here because I love you, and I wouldn't be saying this I'll be saying this out of genuine love. Because I could be at home.
Yeah.
And what's the most loving thing for me to do, Jordan? Is it for me to be out here today?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And it's basically me telling a child to get out.
Yeah.
You know, if there's a fire, I'm going to tell him to get out.
Yeah,
that's all I'm doing.
100.
Even if someone doesn't like it,
Yeah.
I'm going to do that. So the reason why we're here, Arwen, before you go, is that we're here sharing the gospel, the good news of Jesus Christ, and that all of us, everyone in this world, have fallen short of glory of God. Sin against the holy, just God.
Yeah.
And God is holy, He is just, and there needs to be punishment made. Because we're sinners, because we've lied. Would you say we've lied before?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. So because we've lied, I've stolen, I've broken the commandment, I've failed.
Yeah.
Because we've done that, God is, He's perfect and He's just, and sin must be paid for.
Yeah.
So basically, God sent His Son, Jesus Christ, down the cross.
Yeah.
And when He said that it's finished, the transaction was fully paid for.
Yeah.
And what happened after, the third day, when He died and He was buried, He rose again on the third day, defeated death, and said, when He defeated death and He rose again, it was to show that, everything was all cleared and paid for. So before you go, just like this, Jordan, if you're going to a prison without parole, right? And you've caused crimes, or whether you've stolen something, the judge actually steps down and says he's going to pay for your fine, so your case is dismissed. That makes sense?
Yeah.
And that's what God done. But God, there's two things that we have to do: is we have to repent, 180-degree turn away from our sins, and put our trust in Jesus Christ. And that's what we're here for. Is that the reason why we spoke about the suffering and why we need that to show that rape is actually wrong, is because we're saying that that everybody knows God exists. Everybody. Even if we say that we reject it, we know in the heart of heart, just like you said, in the heart, we know that God exists. We know when someone is being beaten up, it's absolutely wrong. We know that. So that's the reason why we're here for. I'm out here because I love you, and I want to share Christ and share the love of Christ. And we know even in Scripture it says everybody knows God exists in regards to because of creation. If there's a building, there's a builder. If there is a watch, there's a watchmaker. And if there is creation, there's a creator. It's
Absolutely.
Straight logic.
We should swap.
Easy, straight logic.
I didn't know it was about
it's that easy. But look, Jordan.
Yeah, alright.
Pleasure.
What's your name again, sorry?
Godwin. Is there any questions you've got?
No, I don't think so, no.
Is there any, before you go, any insights, is this going to make you think?
Yeah, I'll have a think. I'll definitely have a think.
Do you think this conversation is kind of...
I like to look into everything that I'm told about. Like when something interests me and you definitely interested in me, I like to research. I like to find my own truth.
But this is what I'm saying, that we can have conversations, right, where we have disagreements, or where we have different belief systems.
It's something
but we didn't have to argue.
Exactly, that's what I'm a massive believer of that. Just because you disagree with something doesn't mean it has to be an argument.
Exactly. So we had a nice conversation. We have different belief systems, we come from different places, but we can have a nice conversation.
Yeah, 100%.
So I totally appreciate your patience, Jordan. Is there any, is this definitely going to make you think before we go?
I'm constantly thinking about a million things at the same time. That's the curse of ADHD. This is very thought-provoking. So I'll have a think. Me and Greg over there will have a discussion.
Well, if you ever, off camera, I could give you
give me a
Gospel of John.